About flat land. So I decided to speak on this topic. Flatland theme. About flatland. In favor of the flatland they wrote to me. I wrote earlier. But I decided not to shoot a video on this topic. There was no decent example then. Yes, there was an example of why rockets do not fly up vertically and fly somewhere around the corner, but due to the fact that the Earth is flat, there is no space. Everything revolves around. There is some kind of cap with holes where they shine with light bulbs. All astronauts are cheating us. All as one. This is a sweeping swamp. I don't like it. Small number of arguments. They put everything there. And we have nothing to talk about. Who believes astronauts fly? I didn't like to indulge in indiscriminately. I did not immediately like this position. Rocket takes off. Then the rocket flies crookedly. And falls somewhere over the hill. And there is no space. This is strange. Stone upright. Throw up, stone upright. Throw up. What will happen to him? Because he will fall on your head. Must fly vertically up, that's weird. The rocket takes off vertically for an understandable reason, but then it should give orbital speed. Kind of understandable. But it's strange why people believe it. Okay, though there is a geostationary orbit, there is something to argue about. But still it didn't seem interesting to me. But then one person sent me a very interesting copy. Very interesting experiment. Which is represented in the English segment of the internet. Conducted an experiment. I trust this experiment. People put a gyroscope on a table. Sold such pretty big. Untwisted and waited 1 hour. They say if the Earth rotates, then an hour later the Earth makes a turn, 15 degrees. Somehow oriented gyroscope. In an hour should turn 15 degrees. Or about 15 degrees, depends on at what latitude they conducted their experiment. If at the equator it is strictly 15 degrees. But in general he should turn by some degrees. Untwisted gyro did not turn. Now draw. What? According to the estimates of modern physicists, the Earth rotates in empty space. Firstly, the space is empty. It is straight. Organized in a square bride way. The properties of it in different directions are identical. Physics say empty space of the medium is not present in this space. Space is Euclidean. The gyro should have turned in an hour. In such a space with such an idea of space. About this idea of physicists about the structure of our planet. And what is it? And since the gyro did not turn, it follows exactly, at least at the level of this experiment. People say that the Earth does not rotate around its axis. Well, and then the land is flat, on 3 elephants, on the whale, and so on. Astronauts are cheating us. This is one approach. I have another look at it now. Draw. It was me who painted the Earth from the axis. From the pole. Parallels. So small, still draw. The Earth rotates. Everything is clear. Space around the planet is not empty. Space is not empty. It is filled with ether. It rotates a whirl of ether. Then imagine. In the first experiment, take a compass and start spinning around its own axis, approximate analog of the gyroscope, about. Take a compass and parallel. Start moving along some straight line. Let's say a little bit forward. To the side. The compass will remain relative to your orientation. In the same position as before your movement. A gyroscope should behave like this. In my hypothesis about ethers. E.g., at some angle. To the line, to the radial line. Ether has a radial, spherical shape. Lines of the same characteristics. If the Earth turned in an hour, in relation to this, the lines. After an hour of turning, this angle does not change. Because that is the structure. The ether gate. It's like in the compass example. What happens is there to recognize the correctness of the experiment with the gyroscope. People who on this. People can be divided into three large groups. The first is physics. Adherents of the modern world. For which this experiment is a headache, a big problem. Gyroscope. An hour later did not turn anywhere. What then with the rotation of the Earth? With Euclidean space. Problem. Second category of people. If the gyro is not turned, then the vacuum is empty. Euclidean space. I think this choice is somewhat marginal. But that's my opinion. Take this position. And there is a third group of people. Third madman, it's me. Around the Earth. Ether swirl. Airspace, gyro behavior. This broadcast. Further. It's so curious. If you trust him, then you need to draw some conclusions. Rather than a crooked flying rocket over the hill. What to say? I expressed my opinion. When it came to flatlands, one girl wrote, "That's a lot. Arguments. It's hard to oppose everyone. Knocks out the soil from under such a law as Kepler's third law. You have your own formula. Energy is equal to the angular velocity squared multiplied by the radius in the cube. Generalized energy formula deduced from the third law of Kepler. How to be. Generalized energy formula deduced from the third law of Kepler. How to be. Then about the third law of Kepler in the next video. Author Vadim Lovchikov, Music Zodiac, September 2016. Subtitles and translation Slava Bondaryuk.